Thank you for joining us today. Today, we have a very special guest. I always tell my clients that even though they were charged with a crime, that there is a way through, a way out. So the person who joins us today, George Nolan, he is a great example of what it means to change your life and overcome criminal charges. His journey was not something simple, and he's making a change and changing lives every day. So his story, I hope, inspires you, your loved one. If there's anybody who's going through a difficult time because they're facing criminal charges, I think George's story can help you get through it. Hi, George. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So we're just going to have a conversation about your journey, and there's so much to share, even the bullet points of your life story. It's a lot that you've gone through. But I'm so grateful that you're here because I do feel that your success in your life could be a great example for a lot of people.
Absolutely. I agree.
I have very young clients and clients who are all the way to in their 80s who've been charged with a crime. So I want to share a little bit about your story with our audience. You are a veteran, right?
I am.
And you were in the Marines.
Yep.
Also, you've spent quite a bit of time incarcerated.
A little bit.
Yeah, 17 years
Correct.
total, right? And how old were you when you first went in?
I believe the first time I was arrested, I was 21. And I was a Marine when it happened. I kind of bring it back. I grew up in an unbelievably awesome family. I've also spent a lot of time in prison, so I've heard how most people that end up in a prison setting grew up. That's not my story. Mm-hmm. My story, I guess, is more mental health related. I had a lack of connection. I didn't like my family. I didn't like my friends. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I was kind of just going through the motions. So my answer to that was to join the Marine Corps and get out of my house as quickly as possible. And when I got to the Marines, I quickly realized there was a problem. I had brought myself and whatever I had going on in my head with me. I very quickly found solace in alcohol and drinking and going out every weekend with the other guys that were in the Marines that drank.
That's pretty common, isn't it?
It can be, but our behavior had escalated. We were fighting all the time, doing all that kind of stuff. And if you go out drinking and fighting enough weekends, eventually something bad's going to happen. And something bad happened. A guy that I was with shot somebody, and I ended up going to jail. I was charged originally with accessory to attempted murder, which is
that's pretty serious.
Yeah. The Marines had offered me an other than honorable discharge to get out. I denied it because I'm a huge believer in accountability now. Back then, I kind of had the victim mindset. I didn't do this. None of this is my fault. I went to court-martial, and I actually beat it on the Marine side. But because I was still pending serious civilian charges, they gave me a general under honorable discharge.
How did that feel? Because I do have quite a bit of clients who they're waiting to be charged or have just been charged, and they are in all branches.
Yeah,
so,
it's terrifying because you don't. The unknowns, right? Then there's the guilt of the crime because I felt extreme. If somebody got shot, that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
I had never committed a crime up until that point, outside of the typical kid stuff, But man, it was a lot.
A lot of families have a hard time understanding because I get those calls regularly. Some people, and you said that you beat the Marine side,
Yep.
right? And so that's civilian compared to the criminal charge. But some people get confused. They don't understand that. And can you speak of your experience? Because you could have two separate trials,
Yep.
right? You can have one in state court or federal and one with the agency, whether it is the Army or the Marines
Yeah.
or the Navy, you still have your own trial, right?
Yeah, because you have the UCMJ, which is the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and you're accountable to both systems while you're a member of the armed forces. My major wanted me to take the OTH.
What's OTH?
Other than honorable, it's kind of like a no
Yeah.
harm, no foul. Just get
There's
out.
no record.
Yeah, there's a record, but it's not
Yeah.
held against you. And I wouldn't take it. And when they came back with that not guilty, he was so shocked. He like grabbed me by my arm. He's like, "Let's get out of this courtroom before they change their mind."
Yeah.
Like he was so blown away by it. But that didn't make it any easier. I had planned on being a New York City firefighter. My dad's been a firefighter my whole life. My son's a police officer. That's all I grew up with. And not knowing the system at the time, when everything was said and done, I had a class 6, a very low level felony for assault with a firearm after the fact. But to me, all I heard was felony.
Yeah.
And I had completely lost, and this is 1995, very different time then. I felt like I lost my whole entire purpose, my whole entire plan. I was going to be a firefighter my whole life. That was the end all be all for me. And once I heard felony, I figured I'd be flipping hamburgers for the rest of my life.
Did you go to trial on the criminal side?
No.
Okay.
No, the criminal side got pled out to probation. I was already discharging from the Marine Corps. I needed to get back home to New York.
So that's what's so confusing for people, because people feel that if they beat the civilian side, they're going to beat the criminal charges. And so those are not the same rules.
No.
And people also get confused is the lawyer that you have for charges by the U.S. Marshals, it usually is not the same lawyer because you have to be a JAG.
Yep.
And so people who are in the service and get charged, and that's for everybody who gets confused, these are two different systems, and it is possible to have two separate sentences.
Absolutely.
And so how did your family feel about you facing two separate courts?
My family, my family doesn't know the judicial system, thankfully, right? They haven't had experiences with people being arrested and going to prison or going to jail. I brought that to them, and my actions brought that to them. And it was really, really hard on my mom and my dad and everybody who cared about me. And I think the person who took it the worst, though, was me. And that's not me feeling bad or victim mentality, but my response to it was terrible.
And so you mentioned that it kind of took away your purpose.
Yep.
So where did you find refuge?
Well, one of the most dangerous things that had happened to me was being a United States Marine. You do what you're told. You listen to your superiors, and there's no questions asked. So now that I had no purpose and I had these tendencies to listen, to do what I was told, the people that I chose to bring into my life post-discharge from the Marine Corps were the people that I was meeting at the bar. A couple of old friends who were now selling drugs. And what they were doing, and they instructed me to do if I wanted to make some money or whatever that looked like, I followed to a T. And I started selling drugs, using drugs, that whole nine. I lasted about a year or so in New York, and I was like, I told myself, this isn't for me. I got to get out of here. I'm going to go to Arizona and get sober. And that's honestly what I believed I was doing at the time. But now looking back, what I was actually doing was removing myself from everybody who cared about me, everybody who, my family, you know, people that were close to me my whole entire life. And I wanted to come out to Arizona and just be able to do whatever it is that I wanted to do, which unfortunately was drugs and alcohol.
Do you think that, because sometimes people feel like you pull a geographical, right?
Yep.
You just move, and so then the problems stay back. But the truth is that they come with you.
100%.
And so removing yourself from family, do you think that maybe and friends, was that removing yourself from accountability?
For me, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of instances where getting away from even your family is a very, very good idea.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't. I had a very supportive, extremely accountable family. I had some pretty good friends there. And I didn't want to hear anything from them anymore. So I was going to come out to Arizona and get sober. But that wasn't, I was lying to myself and believing my own lies at the time.
So when you got here to get sober and then decided to take a different path, that's how you ended up incarcerated?
Well, when I got here, I never attempted to get sober, right? The drug use escalated.
There was no even, no.
And I wasn't very heavy into the drugs yet. Like I had done some cocaine and some meth, but it wasn't an everyday thing at that point. But the drinking was, and I was drinking all the time. I got involved with selling ecstasy and making money from selling drugs, pretty quickly while I was out here. And that just led to me getting high consistently. And then I got caught up in a pretty big ecstasy case in 2000. And that was the first time I went to prison.
He was in high demand, ecstasy, at that time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think that rehab work for some people?
Yeah, I absolutely believe. I even kind of believe, even if you don't want to go to rehab and you get put there, it can work for some people. But it definitely, that person on some level has to be ready. They have to want that. They might not even know they want it until they get exposed to it a little bit. But it's a decision.
Do you think that decision comes with maturity or experience or both?
Well, you've heard of desistance theory, right? When it comes to criminal behavior, I think age is definitely a part of it. For me, the reason that I started making the changes that I made, I was in prison on my third prison sentence. Which was 10 years. And I had gotten my rights read to me for the second time in that prison sentence for a violent crime inside prison. And I walked out of that office and I was so relieved, first of all, that person was okay, because I didn't know if he was or not. And I started asking myself some pretty tough questions, like, who am I? I talked about honor, loyalty, and respect while I cheated on every girl I was with when I was obviously not in prison, stole cars, robbed houses, sold drugs. I couldn't even spell honor, loyalty, and respect. But I wanted to be honorable, loyal, and respectful. I couldn't verbalize it then. I can now. Mm-hmm. But I started figuring out ways to align my behaviors with my values. And for my recovery, most of it is values-based. My values won't allow me to return to drug use. My values won't let me return to the criminal thinking. I know who I am today, and I didn't know who I was then.
So that was a turning point for you.
Oh, huge.
I have a lot of clients that go to prison. And staying sober in prison here in Arizona, it's not very easy for somebody who has an addiction. Is it true that people can find drugs in prison?
Oh, absolutely. You can find drugs in prison, but I'll tell this to your clients or to anybody else that's listening. Mm-hmm. It is a lot harder to get high in prison than it is to stay sober in prison. If you really want to have a lot of problems and deal with all the chaos and invite every single negative thing around you into your life, then feel free to get high in prison.
What does that mean? Are you saying that getting drugs could lead you to getting involved with groups of people that you
absolutely.
Shouldn't be?
Yeah.
Like, because there are prison gangs, right?
Yeah, there's prison gangs. There's the fact that you owe the dude down the hallway money and he needs something done now, or he needs you to hold something. 2 simple rules for prison: don't do drugs, don't gamble. Other than that, prison's pretty easy outside of the chaotic moments here and there. But if you're on that gambling table or you're using while you're incarcerated, you are absolutely 100% going to have problems at some point.
And you say that prison can be easy. So I have a lot of clients' families that are very worried about their loved ones being in prison. Can you share a little bit of an example of what makes life in prison easier for somebody who doesn't want to do drugs and does not want to gamble?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I say prison's easy,
right,
I'm speaking in context of not getting high in prison, because that's very, very difficult. Yeah, it's easier. So I spoke at ASU not too long ago, and I spoke to some pre-law students, and I asked them, I said, when you guys hear prison, what do you think of? And they gave me 4 words. They said rape, violence, confinement, and hell. Because that's what we see on the media.
Yeah.
Right? And Department of Corrections here in Arizona, they're terrible at marketing. Terrible. All you see is the really bad things that happen.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is I'm in a prison about 10 days a month now as a volunteer or program associate. I forgot what the title is. I spent 17 years in there. April 9th, I'll be out 2 years. I'm very close to the experience. I know what goes on in a lot of the prisons. In addition to those 4 words that people talked about, because that's all they know, you can get a bachelor's degree while you're incarcerated at no cost, through a Pell Grant on the tablets. Rio Salato's in there. You can get your associate's degree. You can go to a recovery, substance abuse, and treatment year-long program while you're in there where everybody, including staff, is a community member. Now, one community member might be able to give another community member a ticket, but they call each other community members. They're very trauma-informed. They have the second chance centers where you can go a few months before you get out and get connected with employment. They have coding. You can go if you want to learn coding, and you can go through the Persevere program and learn that. There are, and the women too. The women have a bunch of different opportunities as well. In addition to that, there's jobs where you can go work. You can go work on a farm. You can answer phones for MBD. There's definitely an opportunity to go to prison and ruin your life and come out a lot worse than you went in, which I did twice, the first 2 times. Or you can go to prison and absolutely change your life and come out on a completely different trajectory from the actions and decisions and behaviors that got you there in the first place. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. Prison is it's a very difficult experience. It's very lonely. It's very controlled. All you can do is control. All you can control is what your behavior is and what your perspective is. And if you go to prison and watch TV for 5 years or do drugs or do that, what's your life going to look like? Or if you go to prison and read a book every day and get out there and participate in fitness and set goals and chase down goals, what's your life going to look like? It's going to look a lot different. Either way, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, for sure. But you said that there was a turning point for you.
Yep.
And so what steps did you take? Because you were still in prison.
Yes.
So what did you do differently that led you to a better path?
So first of all, I'm going to preface this by saying I was an absolute coward while I was in prison. I looked at myself as a leader, as, all these other terms, but I was following the herd. I was doing everything I was doing, and I'm talking about cowardly acts of violence and things like that. I did all of that with a mindset so it didn't get done to me. And
As a protection?
Just an act of cowardice. That's the only way to describe it. Every decision I made was fear-based. I was in prison, and I'll just kind of define the culture. I could murder my whole entire family as long as everybody was over 18 and walk around that yard and be considered a good dude. But if I decided to use on that yard and I owed $40 to somebody and I didn't pay it, then I become an outcast or, a POS or whatever term you want to use for that. Mm-hmm. That's how just different that culture is.
Yeah.
So I had gotten myself up to a 4-yard. I was involved in the gang stuff on the yard.
What's a 4-yard? Can you tell people what that means?
Absolutely. So there's 5 levels of yards. There's a 1 yard, which is super minimum where you go out to work and all that. Same thing with a 2-yard. Doors aren't really locked. You can come and go kind of as you please inside the unit. A 3-yard is medium custody. So it's semi-controlled movement. You might go eat and go to rec at different times, but it's controlled. And then a 4-yard, you're locked in a 2-man cell.
And so when you first went to prison, you were in lower yards.
I was on a 3-yard.
And then things led inside.
My behaviors and my actions led to me getting moved up in custody.
And so then we're talking about almost max, right?
Yep.
And so you were restricted.
Yep.
And that means that they give you specific times to to do certain things and you have less privileges.
Yes, a lot less privileges, and it's a lot different environment there.
When you are, sorry, I'm going to take you on a
That's
tangent.
okay.
When you are in a 3-yard or a 4-yard, is there a difference in the programs that you're eligible if you're in a lower yard than if you're in a higher yard?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're on a level 4 yard, you can't get out early, right? There's a couple of enhancements where you can get about 6 months of an early release between a Senate bill and meeting some educational requirements or programming requirements. You're not eligible for any of that on a 4 yard. On a 3 yard, you'd be eligible for it. And then as you get up in custody like that, staff is so busy with taking people to showers, taking people to rec, doing all that, there's not a lot of time left to get out and get a programming. And then also, when they do have the programs, this building and this building, they can't mix. So it's only this building that can go. So it's a lot harder for people that are incarcerated to program and for DOC to provide the programming. This administration has been a lot better about opening the doors and providing opportunities for that, but there's still a ways to go.
Thank you for sharing that. So your turning point was on your third
Yep.
sentence to DOC, and you were in a 4-yard.
Yep.
So tell me, I'm sorry I cut you through
No,
that.
that's good.
Tell me about what you did differently.
So I was 45 years old. I was covered in a bunch of shitty prison tattoos. I got my rights read to me. And I just remember walking out of that office, and I didn't care about the consequences still. And I didn't really care about going home. I probably had a needle in my arm the day before or the hour before, or definitely right after. But I was like, man, what am I doing? I tell my son I love him. I tell my mom while I'm asking him for money. I say I hate prison, but all of my actions show that I love being here. I don't even want to go home because of the things that I'm doing in here. And I just took a really hard look at myself. And I 100% believe that anything worthwhile, you're going to need a team, right? Anything you can do by yourself, it's probably not going to be that great. But being on that yard, it wasn't a yard that was necessarily conducive for personal development and personal growth. And especially with the history that I had there, I didn't throw my hand in the air and say, hey, I'm done. I'm moved, whatever, right? I give up. But what I did do was I stopped participating in the violence. I started getting high less, which is a terrible recovery plan. Thankfully, it worked for me. I've been sober over 6 or 7 years now.
It can be painful, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And physically, you go through a lot.
Yeah, it's your number one coping skill. It's all you know. It's how I got through so much stuff. And I hate to say it, but drugs probably saved my life at some point.
Why do you say that?
Because if it wasn't for the drugs, I don't know how I would have handled my mental health. Right? And it sucks to say it like that.
Yeah.
But my life wasn't even that bad. I just didn't have the coping skills for it.
So did you have a diagnosis of some sort?
I do now. I do now. I didn't then.
May I ask?
Yeah. So I have PTSD and ADHD.
Okay.
So I have PTSD from a couple of different events, one of them being that shooting when I was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of stuff that led up to, a lot of it of actions that I invited into my own life, but it still affects your psyche nonetheless.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And to this day, I've been out of prison. April 9th will be 2 years, so a couple of weeks away from 2 years out. And I just got back into therapy.
I think that therapy should never end for anyone.
I agree.
And I think every person should have a neutral person to discuss, a sounding board where you can just not feel judgment and that person doesn't have a stake in your life.
It's invaluable.
Good for you.
It's invaluable.
Good for you.
I was talking to my therapist, and this is one of those things that I learned. I've been in recovery and working on, I can confidently say I worked harder on myself the last 4 years I was in prison than probably 98% of the prison population, right? I did a lot of work, reading a book every 2 weeks, being a peer support, participating in programming. I took my recovery as serious as I took my addiction. And still to this day, we're never going to know everything.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my therapist about a traumatic event. And I was like, even talking to you about it's just a little thing. And when he pointed out to me, he said, look at your scale. the things that you've been through. What you're talking about as a little event, to most people is a pretty major event, but because of your scale of things and what you've put yourself through, that's why you see it that way. What do you think about that? And I was like, oh, okay. And that's not a conclusion I would ever have drawn on my own. So it was really good to have that objective person who I can speak freely with.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah. So you made the changes for yourself, by yourself in prison. And what has helped you transition for the families that are expecting for loved ones to be released soon?
Yep.
What helped you to transition and stay clean and sober? Congratulations on almost 2 years of being out.
Thank you.
And your sobriety, of course.
Yep.
So what helped you?
Accountability, right? So many families want to over support. And
What do you mean by that?
they want to just let somebody come back home. They want to make sure they have a car. They, in some cases, that's kind of dangerous. Let the people coming out of prison, getting a job is probably the least important thing that we can do. And the reason I say that is my job, and I love my job. I get up at 3 a.m. I go to bed at 10 o'clock every night since I've gotten out of prison. But my job didn't get me through finding out my mom had cancer. My job didn't get me through my car getting stolen. My job didn't get me through a super aggressive probation officer who decided to bang on my window instead of my door like a normal human being. The work I did on myself got me through all of those situations. So if a man or a woman's coming off of a prison yard where they didn't have these opportunities for growth and to cultivate and to develop these coping skills, and they're coming out of a very traumatic environment, I highly encourage that they go to a program out of prison. I'm not talking about a halfway house. I'm talking about a program. Obviously, I work for a program. I don't care if they come to my program or if they go to a different one, but do that work, have that soft landing, because there's a couple of different options that are available. But just getting back out and just getting to work, most people had a job before. They had a house before. They had a car before. And it wasn't enough then. What's going to be different now?
So let's talk about your program.
Okay.
Can you tell us your role and the organization? Because I want people to know that there are resources like yours.
Absolutely.
And you have been in the trenches.
Yep.
And you know what works and what doesn't.
Absolutely. So I work for an organization called New Freedom. And we believe reentry, the process of getting out of prison, starts the day you become incarcerated, not the day you get out. Right? The more you can plan, the more you can have pro-social conversations and interactions, goal set, the better your chances are going to be when you do get out. Those people that we mentor about 8,000 people that are incarcerated right now. We have a whole mentorship team. We do it through, well, it used to be through letter writing. Now it's a different format because of the changes in DOC policy. Those people that are going to come to us, we pick them up at the gate. We buy them whatever they want for lunch on the way home. And they come stay with us. We bought a Sheraton 4 Points Hotel on I-17 in Peoria. It's a huge facility. There's a pool. They have personal trainers in the morning. But I'll tell you this, if you want to just go to a program and lay around, we're not the place for you. Your day starts 4 or 5 in the morning with physical fitness or an education on whole health management. Then you have breakfast, all you can eat. You have 3 hours of programming. You have a 2-hour lunch, again, all you can eat. Then you have 3 hours of, or 2.5 hour group in the afternoon. In addition, if you want to learn a trade, that's an option. It's not a mandatory part of the program, but you're going to do that on nights and weekends. All of the effort that we put into our addiction, into the behaviors that led us to prison, we have to put that same amount or close to it of effort into being happy and to being successful.
That change is so hard.
Absolutely. So is staying the same.
It is. It is. So people have to be committed to change before they come to you.
They have to at least be open to it because, well, I'm in prisons all the time and I tell people this probably isn't the program for you.
You do?
Oh, absolutely. The last thing I am is a New Freedom salesman. I'm the director of marketing, right? So my title says a little something different.
Yeah.
But I know this population. I know these people. I don't want you to come to a place that's not going to, where you don't want to do that work. I'll give you an example. I was running a group in prison not too long ago, and coping skills, like I just talked to you about, are what saved my life. They, to this day, are what saved my life. So when I speak to groups in there, it's usually about coping skills. And I get done with my group, and one of the gentlemen in that class said, man, you can miss me with that. I just need money. I said, okay, I'm not here to tell you what should drive you. That's the number one thing you need? He said, oh, yeah, absolutely. Cool. Tell me about money. He's like, well, what do you mean? What's a good mortgage rate right now? What good IPOs are coming out? Matter of fact, what's the difference between a stock and a bond? I always wondered that. He had no answers, right? So I asked him, I said, if you don't know anything about money and this is the number one thing you need, what do you think your chances are of getting it?
Yeah.
I happen to know, and well, at least for me, money's not going to solve my problems. I know that. But if I just tell somebody, hey, you're wrong, you're going to get that natural resistance where they're going to argue the other side of the coin. But when you put things in question forms, and now this guy knows that he just stated the number one thing he needs, he doesn't know anything about, hopefully that gives him some momentum, some impetus to start learning about finances or whatever that looks like for him. That's kind of the approach we take at New Freedom, where we're going to work on the whole person first. We're going to work on your coping skills. We're going to help you define what it is you want to do, what you want to be as a human, and then we're going to help you get back to work.
Money is a big deal because what I see from clients who have been in and out of prison or even jail, paying bills is not something easy.
Right.
And learning how to manage is not something easy. So do you teach that in your program, how to pay bills or do a budget or?
Absolutely. Life skills, right? Checking accounts, the basics. A lot of us don't know. I'm a homeowner now, and I'm barely figuring it out.
And you bought your home right away. I saw in my notes that you bought it how many months after getting out?
8 months getting out of prison.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's another message. It's not necessarily a New Freedom message, but this is a message that I say to a lot of us that have struggled with, especially with drugs and alcohol. We always hear change, change, change. I have a little bit of a different message. I don't think you should change that much. And this is what I mean by that. And I ask this in my groups all the time. I was leaving the gym over in Phoenix, not a couple years, year and a half ago or so now. And a young man that I had supported in prison was walking past the front of my car. He had a bag of stuff over his shoulder. He was with a female, and her face was so picked apart from methamphetamine use it was bleeding. And I seen him, and I made an off-color remark like, "Oh, let's say, oh man, for sake of argument." And he heard me, and he's like, "Hey, it's not as bad as you think, brother." And I'm like, "Dude, I get it.
Yeah.
No judgment, man. I totally get it. But if you want to go to detox, I'll give you a ride." And he looks at me and he's like, "Oh man, I need money for a bus to get to work." I'm like, "Dude, I know you don't have a job, but if you want to get something to eat, I'll feed you." And he said, No, I'm good, man." He walked off. At this point, I asked my groups, "Do you guys think he went and got high?" All of them say yes. So what I'm about to say isn't going to make a lot of sense at first. Just bear with me.
Yeah.
His behaviors that day are fantastic. His goal is trash. He's willing to live outside of a building, walk across Phoenix in 110-degree heat, everything he owns in a bag over his shoulder to get to that goal. Now, when you repurpose that resilience, that tenacity, that perseverance, and apply that to something meaningful, no one can stop you. No one can stop you. I got out of prison April 9th, 2024 with $250. That's it. That's all I had. And a killer support system. People I could go to and I could ask for some guidance. And I got to work. And I haven't stopped since. And almost 2 years later, I thought it was going to be this long, super long road back, like it was into addiction. That was a long road, 17 years in prison, plus all the great decisions and decision-making. I had my little bouts of freedom in between. But the road back's not that long. I'm the director of marketing at the biggest reentry facility probably in the country. I'm in senior leadership there. I'm a full-time student at GCU. I'm delivering 2 events, one on March 24th, a reentry simulation, and then just by coincidence, April 9th, I'm hosting a panel with the director of the Department of Corrections, the director of probation for the state of Arizona, Shanda Breed, behavioral health professional, my buddy who's just getting out of prison. I'm involved with multiple nonprofits. I'm a treasurer with 13 felonies, including identity theft on a local nonprofit here. I don't think they do background checks. I'm engaged. I'm in a super healthy relationship. I own a home. I have a deaf dog that drives me nuts.
I have one of those too.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
So you feel my pain.
Training them, it's very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm super blessed. I've been able, not because of, obviously my actions today are honorable and respectful and loyal. Thankfully, my family's decided to make room in their lives for me again. I get to see my grandkids. I work wholeheartedly on my decision making. The one thing I tell people coming out of incarceration, if you want an easy life, if you want a happy life, if you want easy was the wrong word, but a happy and successful life, it's integrity. It's literally that simple. It's doing the right thing all of the time. I put maybe 40% of the effort that I put into my addiction into my success today. And don't get me wrong, my days are long. Like I said, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day. I go to bed between 8 and 10 o'clock at night, every night. I work my butt off, and I love it. But when I was a drug addict and I was on the streets, I didn't sleep at all. I didn't have a place to sleep. That was just as hard as learning how to pay bills, if not harder.
Yeah.
Going to prison was way harder than the quick money that I used to talk about.
We're going to put the information for New Freedom. We're going to put it all so people can reach out to you and the program. Could family reach out?
Yeah.
And then make the connection with their loved ones as well?
Absolutely. We don't only support the person who's incarcerated or the person who's suffering, right? There's a whole village that comes with that. With DOC, it's doing things with and for the officers and being part of that. I'm on the Violence Reduction Task Force with the director and his team trying to figure out different ways to make prisons safer.
And George, what yards or where are you going? So if people know that you are in the prisons where their loved ones are, maybe they can look for you?
So I go to Perryville every Wednesday. I go to Phoenix West right here Friday nights. We're in Alhambra. It's not necessarily me all the time anymore, but one of the people on my team.
Okay.
I just got him going down there now on Monday nights at Alhambra.
And Alhambra is the intake
that's
facility.
That's the launch point.
Yeah.
And I know when I was in those cells, this was a goal I actually wrote in prison. When I went through Alhambra, all I heard about was drugs, gangs, and racism and violence. Mm-hmm. So when I went to prison, I found drugs, gangs, racism, and violence. Now I go into Alhambra and I talk about hope. I talk about purpose. I talk about planning for an actual future for what's going to be important to you rather than whatever that community that you're incarcerated with says. I go to Cimarron sometimes. I go to Maury Unit sometimes. I'm going to Kingman this weekend. I was in Winslow 2 weeks ago. All over the place. The family members, if you want, you can put my phone number on the however you do it on your podcast.
Yeah.
They can call me. I encourage people to text because I'm in correctional facilities often and I don't have my phone. And I'm way better at returning texts than I am voicemails.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be happy to, even if you're not coming to New Freedom, I don't care. I'm more than happy to get you connected with somebody somewhere so you can do something.
So I think that this is very valuable because a lot of families are worried how they can set up their loved ones by the time they get out.
Yep.
Exactly what you said, a place to live, a job, but the rest is missing, right? Yep. And so I think that sometimes maybe rethinking where the resources go and looking for options like you and your organization, how that can strengthen someone to be a success story as you are.
Yeah. Well, you have to do the work. If me personally or New Freedom, if we could give you success and reentry and recovery, I would hand it to you 100% of the time.
Package that.
We can't.
If you could only.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to do the work. And you'll probably hear it from a family. Oh, I just want to come home. I just want to get back to my kids. And I say it to the men all the time. I'm a little bit different with the women. I word it a little bit differently, but it's the same message. Do you want to go home and be dad for a couple of months, or do you want to go home and be a dad for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
What are you doing differently? And something for families, if somebody is coming home and they do want to get back, it's not a bad prerequisite to say, okay, go to a program first Show us that you're willing to do that work, whether you need it or not. Just go do it because we're asking.
Yeah.
And then come to us after that. And it can show where the buy-in is. It can, and they're going to get something out of it. And I can also talk to them about what programs are good for what, because not every program is for everybody. So I can help them navigate that as well.
And is it okay if somebody has a substance abuse issue, they're coming out of DOC, but they also may have some mental health going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Co-occurring disorders?
Yes.
Absolutely. I'll give you some numbers.
Okay.
New Freedom, we used to have about a 92% success rate. We now have 94.6% success rate. That means not returning to incarceration.
Right.
Our top employers have about a 71% employee retention rate where they're staying on because they were given an opportunity and they love it. In addition to that, over that 2 years, they have about a 46.7% pay increase. We're putting 161 skilled workers back into the Arizona workforce every month.
That's fantastic.
Every month, people are leaving New Freedom, about 160 of them with jobs. If you look at the GDP, we had Jim Rounds did a third-party review of us. We're putting about $200 million back into the local GDP just off of, obviously, people returning to work, people getting off state Medicaid, right, and getting onto private insurance, incarceration, not returning to incarceration, court costs, public defenders, emergency room visits, overdoses, all that. It works out to about $200 million a year based on a 2,000-person cohort.
That is a fantastic program.
Absolutely. One thing I will tell you, unabashedly, we're the best game in town.
Yeah.
We are absolutely the best game in town, and I am so proud to work where I work.
And I think that your journey prepared you to be in this position now.
That's the other thing, too. I think it's important to just touch on. My history is never going to change, right? Yeah. My story never changes. I looked through I'm on probation currently. I looked through some ARS statutes. I saw that when you're on probation, you can put in to get off probation whenever you want. Yeah. I've hit some major milestones. I figured it would be easy. I've paid off all my fines, and I put in to get off probation against my probation officer's advice, who's been very supportive, but I'm also stubborn. So I put in for it a few months ago, and the prosecutor responded and just roasted me. Nothing for what I was on probation for, but he brought up my history.
It always goes back to that.
Yeah. And my probation officer called me, and she said, man, did you see what he wrote? Or he or she? I said, yeah, but they ain't lying. Yeah. Right? That story never changes. And when people talk about self-forgiveness, because we have to face this, I cannot walk around in shame and sorrow for the things that I did in the past. It doesn't make them okay. It doesn't give them permission. But the way I was able to find self-forgiveness and to be able to do the things that I do today with integrity is the only way for me to make sense of my past is to do things like this, to do the work that I do, to have conversations like this, to be a part of systems level change, to advocate for the population. My victims, whether they care or not, or they're still hurt, this is the only way, this is the only thing I have control over on how to honor the wreckage of my past. And that's how I get to live in self-forgiveness. For me, it's not, I can't just tell you, hey, I forgive myself and move on, because at some point it's probably going to creep back in, the guilt and the shame and all that. I have to actively be a part of the solution in order to be okay with the things that I've done in the past.
I want to congratulate you for your evolution, your metamorphosis into the person that you are today. And I want people to hear what you've gone through, your message, your story. I want them to be inspired by you.
I hope so.
There are so many families, so many of my clients who feel that their lives are over.
Yep.
And the old selves are going to be left behind once they go into custody. And then there is an evolution.
Absolutely.
And it's really up to them whether they accept it or not.
Absolutely. It's all perspective, and nothing's bad or good until we say it is.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, the things I did in my past were terrible, but I've taken all of that, all of my experience experiences. I've repurposed it, and now I'm doing all I can do is the best I can. Even if a family member still harbors some resentments, I don't have any control over that. I can try to make my amends, but just what I do have control over is being the best possible person that I can be every day, and that's what I have to focus on.
And the last thing I'm going to ask you before we close is, what do you do when you're having a hard day? What helps?
For me, I'm a gym guy. I go to the gym every single day. Thankfully, I have a very, very healthy relationship. I have a great fiance. We're getting married at the end of the year. I'm able to talk to her.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm able to speak with her about stuff. Everybody in my life, and obviously I have friends, right? But what I mean by that, what I mean by what I'm about to say is every single person in my life is a mentor. I have my professional mentor. I have my relationship friend. I have my friend that I can talk to if I have any substance use thoughts or stuff like that. I have my therapist, right? So I know you can't do it by yourself.
Sounding boards. You need sounding boards.
You need to have good people in your life. And the other thing, you need to get rid of the people in your life that aren't good people.
That's a tough one.
It's terrible. I have friends I've been friends with for 30 years that have bailed me out of jail, that I've been through all kinds of great stuff or terrible stuff with, but they're not worth my freedom.
Yeah.
They're on their own path. If they decide they want to reach out and do better, if you don't I don't care what your future looks like, but if you don't care about it, if you want to be a manager at McDonald's or you want to own an HVAC company and you're doing everything you can to get after your future and you care about yourself and you're driven, you can be in my life. Anything outside of that, I really don't have time for.
Yeah.
The people that just want to get through the day and check boxes, I get that and I respect it, and that's awesome for you. But I'm responsible for my energy at the end of the day. And if you're toxic or you're using professionally, yeah, absolutely, I'll work with you and I'll help get you connected with services. But I'm not going to be spending time socializing with you. I can't put myself in those areas. And it could be family.
Yeah.
It could be friends. It could be your brother. You have to be able to set strong boundaries. And in order to do that, you have to know who you are and what your boundaries are first.
They go together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to close with that, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And if anybody needs you, they can reach out to you. We'll put the information at the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, George.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.